Good afternoon. I'm from very sunny Aberdeen, and welcome to another episode of AYP Live, where we bring you real talk from real people who've been there, done that, and have the stories to prove it. I'm your host, Ross Jolly, and thanks for joining me as always. Great to have you here. Thanks to AYP sponsors Addleshaw Goddard and Fugro for their support in allowing us to provide our members with online and in-person events. Before I introduce this afternoon's guest, please feel free to comment, say hi, let me know. We're definitely live across our LinkedIn, YouTube, and Instagram channels, because today we're talking about something every young professional should be thinking about, and that's digital influence. Not just followers, not just likes, but how you actually shape your online presence to open doors, build credibility, and also fast-track your career. And we couldn't have a better guest to break this down than Eric Doyle. Eric's a managing director, thought leader, TEDx speaker, and someone who has built a reputation for not only influencing online, but doing it with purpose. You've probably seen his name pop up on LinkedIn or heard someone say, you should speak to Eric. Well, today I'm doing exactly that and asking the questions that matter to our Aberdeen Young Professionals Network. So, for a guest who's used to asking all the question on LinkedIn Lives, let's get him on and hear some of his answers. A warm welcome to Mr. Eric Doyle. How are you?
Oh man, what an introduction. I'm overwhelmed. I'm wondering who you're bringing on when you're saying all that. Who else is coming on?
Well, the brown envelope helped. Thanks very much, Eric. Thank you.
and first off, before we get into it, thank you so much for the invitation. I absolutely loved watching Danny and Andy from Men in Mind, your first AYP Live, and was blown away. I know a bit about the work they do because of Martin Hickens' TED Talk, where he kind of speaks about what they do at Men in Mind. So I don't know how we're going to follow that, but we'll try.
We'll try our very best. Well, Eric, I'm keen just to kind of probably start, with your own kind of journey. You've worked in leadership roles across multiple sectors. So what role has your digital presence played in accelerating your own career path?
Well, what a brilliant question. After 25 years in mainly the energy sector, I had no clue about digital when I was, in the roles that I was in. And it came about. I'll maybe expand on it a wee bit later, but that it was something that happened round about sort of 2018 that started a fascination for how digital was encouraging and influencing what we were doing in our commercial worlds. So we set up Crux in 2018. Fully focused on giving professionals all the tools they need to find what it is that they want from their new digital commercial worlds. And that realization, there was a time in my life where I wasn't digitally minded, and the first domino fell for me around about December 2018. And now I realize that digital is everything for us, and it's becoming everything for every company and individual that gets trained and sets up digital camp. And now full immersion. So as well as running Crux, our training, consultancy, coaching services, we've now immersed fully in setting up a digital startup, which is lovely. So we are developing software, apps, platforms for the commercial world. Social media, AI, blockchain, Web3, all have become an absolute fascination. And I've probably got a wee bit of hyper focus, so I've gone in deep.
Because we obviously touched on the TEDx talks there. I mean, for those that haven't come across your TEDx talk yet, Eric, I mean, I was lucky. I was actually seeing it live. Brilliant. And I'm not just saying that because you're the guest on here. I think by far was, for me, the best one. Can you give us a flavour of what it was about and what motivated you to take the stage?
Well, first off, that's lovely to hear that. And, occasionally, even still, 2 years later, people will come up and tap you in the shoulder and say, I saw your TED Talk. TED has got massive legs. It's almost like people ignore the date. If they see your TED Talk, they just want to come up and share a story with you, which is an amazing thing. So if you can ever have the chance to give a TED Talk in your life, I would say absolutely throw your hat in the ring, because it's wonderful. So it's wonderful what it does. If you get it right, and I hope I did, it really gets into the hearts and minds of people, and it's got long legs. So my story at its foundation is a story that's actually about strategy, planning, and community, but it's wrapped in a story that starts in a deeply sad place It's a journey through loss, adventure, being lost. Hi, Derek. Sorry, I'm not the host. I'm not allowed to say hello to you.
It's roles reversal for you, Eric, today,
Well,
remember?
So it's a journey through loss, adventure, being lost, finding a mission, abject failure during that mission, a bit of a reset, focus, and go again. And eventually, well, I won't spoil it for anyone who hasn't seen it, but eventually something happens. And sharing that story was an amazing thing to do, an amazing honor to do.
Yeah, and I think people that are watching this just now, please look it up on YouTube. Again, I won't spoil it either, but there's a real, I would say, a touching moment when there's somebody in the crowd that Eric kind of refers to as well, which is fantastic. So, I mean, looking back, Eric, was there a particular moment when you realised, okay, this online stuff, it's powerful?
Wednesday the 12th, 2018 at 12:08. I'll remember it forever. It was the time when the first domino fell for me as an analog professional. At the time, I was the managing director of a reasonably small oil and gas service company and a board member of the parent. I was completely analog. All of our sales, marketing, and BD processes were analog. On the phones, emailing, trying to set up meetings. We were doing all the traditional stuff. And it had a limited effect, and it was becoming less and less effective. Something happened on digital. I'll tell you a very quick story. Mm-hmm. Prior to that date, now remember that was Wednesday the 12th of December 2018. I set up a LinkedIn account the week that Reid Hoffman launched it from his bedroom in New York, right before Microsoft were involved, when it was just a little tech startup. But I thought this will be interesting, and I'm an early adopter in life, so I jumped in and set up an account. From 2003 to 2018, I'd never produced any content. I had a very small network of people. I used to use digital channels, LinkedIn mainly, to spy on the competition, to see if we could poach someone to come and work with us, and just to keep an eye on what was going on. I'd never commented. I'd never produced content. Every Tuesday and Thursday, our marketing director would tell us to share the company post. We didn't know why we were doing that, but we did it because she was lovely, and we wanted to help her, and she seemed to think it was important. So we all did it. I went into LinkedIn, and I saw that a big prospect of ours that we couldn't get close to, someone put out a piece of content there, and I thought, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it for the first time ever. I'm going to comment on it. I'm going to comment on this. And that comment led to a series of dominoes falling, which resulted in a very, very successful commercial interaction. And that started me thinking. So I am a technical, business-minded professional who, at this moment in time, if you'd asked me prior to 2018, December 2018, social media, I would have said, well, it's for kids on TikTok and stuff. It's for barbecue pictures on Facebook. It's for saying I'm on holiday in Spain and stuff like that, and it's. I realized at that point that there was something more in this, more in this, and how can two professionals come together on a digital platform, create a little spark, get to know each other, which leads to company-changing commercial interaction. How do we do more of that? And how do we put it into our strategy? So that was the moment when I started investing and learning.
Because that probably kind of just opens up this nice question I've received via email here, which is, what's the biggest misconception you feel that young professionals have about building digital influence? Because I think there's a lot of fear from young people. What do I post? What do I not post? What kind of assistance would you provide with that kind of question, Eric?
I think it's a great question, and it's one that we hear a lot. So my company, Crux, we work with PLCs, SMEs, startups across sectors. We train and coach everyone in what we call digital B2B influence. Digital B2B influence. How do you become the leading technical and commercial digital influencer in your sector? And we come across every type of persona. We've trained hundreds of people. We come across young people, older people. We come across, and there's no direct correlation. We've worked with older people who are very social media savvy. We've worked with younger people who are not. The misconception is that younger people are sort of cooler with this. So we meet people where they are. We meet them where they are, and we work out that what you're trying to achieve, and we build a framework for you to help you achieve that. The misconception we often find with young professionals is that this is for other people. Yeah. These people who are confident and have all the tools and all the charisma and all of that. The fact is, the digital twin of your sector is waiting for you. These platforms were designed. LinkedIn's own mission statement is to connect the world's professionals, and their vision statement is to allow those professionals to create economic opportunity. That's what they say they're for. Now, they're what they produce for Microsoft is revenue from adverts and upscale memberships to Premium and Sales Navigator and Recruiter and all that. But the digital twin of your sector is waiting for you, and there's an expectation in this new digital commercial world that you need to be there.
Yeah.
So you have a voice. We want to hear your voice. The platforms want to hear your voice. I hear comments all the time that, those people are really good at it because they're confident. Confidence comes with learning, practice, review, more practice. Did I say practice? Practice, and experience. And saying, I'm just going to build up it's like public speaking. It's like all of this stuff when people say, I'm going to build up my confidence first. You can't. You can only build up your confidence with practice, with trial, with review, with resetting, and commitment. That's how you build confidence, by doing. And having a structure and a framework and doing it is important. Realizing that the world won't spin off its axis and no one's going to die. A bus isn't going to career into your building and smash into it when you put out a piece of content. In fact, when you do get your content right and it starts to harmonize with the kind of people you're trying to attract, it's highly likely those people are going to respond well to it.
Because it's a good point. I mean, I think as well that we've got another good question here about whether or not digital influence is something everyone should aim for, or do you think it's just those who want to be seen as thought leaders? Because I know that's been something that when I discuss that with like younger members in my team, sometimes if they've got like a fear factor of putting anything out. But I mean, everyone's got an opinion, everyone's got something they can say. So, what would be your thought on that?
So, if you need something in life, whether you're younger, more established, it doesn't matter. If you need something, the digital commercial world is now so compelling and so overarching and everything. If you need investors, if you need backers, new hires, new partners, new prospects, new clients, there is really no option these days. The digital transformation of our commercial worlds is now so huge and overriding that there is really no option to do it. The truth is out there. Even the big consultancies, you can pick McKinsey, Forrester, Gartner, are telling us that around about 85% of buyer-seller interactions in the B2B space they're going to originate in a digital channel by the end of 2026. Now think about that. 85% of all buyer-seller interactions are going to originate. Now clearly there's going to be Zoom calls or meetings in person. There's going to be technical sales, proposals, tenders, all of that. But the origin point for connection, for that little spark, that little commercial interaction spark, 85% of those are going to occur in the B2B world in digital channels. So we can't overlook that. So it's business critical now, and becoming known, becoming understood, and becoming a recognizable voice in your digital channels. It has to be high priority for everyone.
And again, that just follows in nicely to one of the questions that we got through email was, if you were starting out again as a young professional, I was still classed as a young lads, Eric, in today's world, what would you be posting online, and what would you definitely avoid?
Me?
I think, yeah.
So first off, if I could go back in time and get in earlier, I would make sure that my profiles and all the platforms that are relevant to me are in terrific shape. Now, there's an art and a science to that. We want to invest time, effort, and maybe even, not a huge amount, but a little bit of money to make sure our profiles are fantastic, not broken, not empty, not amateur hour, not shabby. And I would sit down. So if this is a young me, I would sit down. If this is older me speaking to younger me, I would sit down and I'd write 3 headings: my industry, my company, my solution, whatever it might be, and me. And from each one of those 3 headings, I would write 5 things that are interesting, insightful, and that could start a conversation. So we end up with 15 subject areas. So now I've made 15 routes for content. That's a great start. Yeah. So every week I would make a start date. I would practice writing my content. And every week I would put out 3 pieces of content in that format every single week for at least 6 months. The industry commentary shows that you know your stuff and that you're willing to add commentary to the kind of industry that you're in. if there's a news article that's come out about what's happening in your industry, give us some commentary on it, right? So that's your Monday piece of content. Your midweek is about your company or your solution, not salesy, not buy our stuff. Here's a brochure, blah, blah, blah. Give us insight how you're addressing the issues that you mentioned in your Monday piece of content in a lovely, elegant way. And then on Friday, for instance, give us a little insight to you as a person, your interests, what you read, how you educate yourself, introduce us to one of your colleagues, what you love, what you don't love, what keeps you sane out of work, and then start again on Monday. 3 times a week. The gaps in between Tuesday, Thursday, and the weekend, we can use those gaps for what we call promotional content, which has a much lesser value in terms of B2B influence. But we're at a thing, we've done a thing. You can fill those gaps, but as long as you make that core set of 3 bits of content, industry commentary, give us a bit of insight into how you're addressing those industry issues with your company solution, with your team, and then a wee bit of insight about me. Repeat, repeat, repeat. You will start to train algorithms. You will start to alert your network to what your core is all about, and you will start to train the internet. Too many people are stuck in the promotion loop. We're at a thing, we're doing a thing. We're at a thing, we're doing a thing. B2B content can fall into 3 main groups: promotion, value, or influence. Value is where you're giving something helpful to your network, something helpful. That's the middle piece. Influence is when you have people coming towards you because of that. Hi, Ross, I saw your thing. It really interested me. I think that could help us. Can you come and have a meeting with us at our company? And the promotional stuff is just, sort of like, we're at a thing, we're doing a thing, we're active. But there's very little real massive value in that. It's simply a statement. We're at a thing, and we were delighted to receive a thing. I would avoid getting stuck. You asked me what I would avoid, getting stuck in that promotion loop. My old rugby coach used to tell me when I was a kid, he used to give me a hard time because I was never a very good rugby player. I was a second row and I was quite rubbish. And he used to shout, "Doyle, don't shovel." I'm not going to say what he said, but I'm going to say the word rubbish. Doyle, don't shovel. Talking about just big mid-air passes. I never turned my head to see who was there, and I'm just shoveling stuff out there. That correlates beautifully with what I'm talking about. Before you hit publish, and I'm talking to my young self, or post anything, ask yourself, where is the value for the reader? Your network will get a feel for that core value. You'll train the platform, train the algorithms, and you'll be training the internet. And I would ask my young self to do that for 6 months and then do a review.
Because I'm sure that the next question I was going to ask you is something probably a lot of your clients ask you. And with the rise of AI and things like that, I know that when I've worked with a company, that the main problem being is the authenticity over being professional. So how can someone balance that, being authentic and professional at the same time?
Well, I'm going to be very honest with you, Ross. For me, authenticity and professionalism have been linked at the hip throughout my career. And actually, if you were to describe my description, ask me to give my description for professionalism, it would include being absolutely authentic. Absolutely authentic. I think the before the internet, professional, if you were to ask someone what professional meant, they'd probably say suit and tie. They'd probably say, very corporate, very stiff, and very sort of homogenized, generic kind of talk. The word, with the advent of the internet and social media coming in now, I think the rules have changed on professionalism. I think we can define our version of professionalism. Now, clearly, adding technical and commercial value, giving industry commentary, and giving us a bit of insight into your world, your life, and all of that. We're not gonna be putting, unless you want to, unless what you want to do is put out your content about religion or politics or anything like that. So can you be authentic in those influence, value, and me zones? Of course you can. And what we're finding now is when you take the corporate coat hanger out of the suit jackets, loosen the tie a little bit, and just be conversational. Just tell us a story. Derek Thompson tells his cohorts all the time. He uses a lovely little hook. Make me care. Make me care.
Good advice.
It's huge advice, right? Brilliant. Make me care. So now, as modern professionals, as modern humans, we're caring more about people. We're caring more about people. So often, I used to get a lot of this back in the day. Yeah, but you're asking us to put out a piece of content towards the weekend about what we're up to that weekend and what we're doing with the family. Networking. LinkedIn is the world's largest digital networking platform. It's got 1.2 billion user accounts. The whole concept of networking has always been about getting to know people. I can't get to know you if you just put up a brochure constantly. I can't get to know you if you're just trying to sell me a thing. So given that little drip feed, I'm not talking about give us deep, dark personal secrets. Don't want any of that. Just a little insight into your personality.
I suppose that kind of comes back to as well, Eric, when somebody does a connection request with you and immediately then just sends you their PDF blurb, within probably 10 seconds of connecting with you, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because I know that somebody that I follow on LinkedIn, Amelia Sardell, I know that her kind of tagline is just effing post it, which I think is quite good. Because a lot of people, I think, are worrying about being cringe or not having anything to say. So how do you get past that mental block and then just get going?
I think the mental block comes from people, yeah, you're absolutely right, not knowing where to start. But if you have a framework, use that little initial content plan to get going.
Mm-hmm.
If you worry about being cringe, don't be cringe. Mm-hmm. Don't be cringe. Part of your authenticity is the fact that you're probably not cringy in real life. So why would you be cringy on social media?
Yeah.
Write your content the way you would speak to us in a cafe. 9 times out of 10, I'll meet people who are like, oh, I just don't know what to post. And okay, I'll say, okay, if we took the fear away, what would you post about? And they'll say something absolutely brilliant. And that what you just said there, that last 1 minute and a half of what you just said, if you wrote that down, added on some hashtags and an image, is a fantastic piece of content. People have it in them. But there's this barrier. If you've never created content before, at all, if you've never put out a piece of content and you've lived your whole life reposting someone else's stuff, write a little introduction to yourself. The brilliant speaking coach Vin Jiang says, if your value is 10 up here and your communication skills are 3, you're only ever going to be known as a 3. And that completely works for social media. You could be the best degree holding, multiple degrees, best trained, best experienced in your sector. In this commercial world, if you are a 2 or 3, it's all what you're going to be known for. Think bigger.
I suppose that's like in my world, Eric, where if you're interviewing somebody, they can be the most skilled, brilliant, talented individual, but if they interview very badly and don't communicate with you very well in that interview situation, you're immediately put off and you probably won't get the job.
This all ties together, right?
Yeah.
This all ties together. The biggest experienced, most qualified person, if they come off terrible in the interview, it's like, So why would we come off poorly on social media? Why would we come off poorly when we're giving a talk or a speech? All of these things are tied in. They're all joined at the hip.
So as a young professional, you've started doing your social engineering, you're kind of like your digital influence. Can you share a small thing that young professionals could do today to start improving their digital presence without having to overhaul absolutely everything? Is it just like a case of drawing a line in the sand and trying something different, or what would be your recommendation, Eric?
So a small thing that you could do without overhauling everything, because mainly it's a complete overhaul, it's a complete start. But if there's a small thing that someone could do is spend time on your profile, take time out at the weekend or after work, sit down with a cup of tea or a cup of coffee or red wine or some of those nice bottles that are behind you. Maybe don't do that. Actually. Yeah, well, that would be a really special. Spend time making your profile. So the foundation element of all of this digital B2B stuff is your profile. Your profile is as important as your content and how you behave. So spend time making your profile absolutely excellent. If 85% or 90% or 80% of all B2B sales interactions are going to occur in digital channels, within the next year, we need to make sure that our profiles are fantastic. Why would you have shabby profiles? And then use that little content plan that I gave you earlier. Stick to it, commit and stick. Have a look at what's out there in your space. There's lots of live stream shows that are the same as other live stream shows. There's lots of videos that are the same as other people's videos. Over time, try and figure out how you can be different. I've done that through my whole digital life. How do we do things that will stand out? We've done live shows that are different to anything that's on the platform before. How can we stand out in a sea of sameness?
Yeah.
So carve a little channel, the way you do your video. Put a little thing in there that's different to everyone else's. We don't want to, I think it's fine to start this way, to start out just blending in And then once you're comfortable with creating content and you're getting a nice bit of interaction going with your new audience, because growing your network is important, start to think about, how can I stand out in a sea of sameness and do something different, which just allows you to poke your head above and allow people to see the difference. Why would we want to make content exactly like all of our competition or everyone else on the channel?
There's a great element in the chat here from David Taylor. He's just saying that this is the bit he struggles with. LinkedIn at times feels like it's full of people living their lives out loud, but not truly reflecting their actual lives. They're putting out what is expected. Jumping on trends takes away a bit of the authenticity for me.
He's got a point, right? Yeah. He's got a point. I was running a seminar just after the new year, and someone said, "Well, Eric, LinkedIn's just full of good news stories." But let's think about it like this. LinkedIn is a digital networking. Let's underline that and let's focus in on that for just a second. Digital networking platform. When we're networking with people, imagine we were at a show and we built the Ross and Eric and David stand, and we were up there with our company. And someone walked onto that stand and said, "Hey, Eric, how's it going?" And I just said, "Well, a little bit crap, a little bit crap. We're struggling to make payroll. Our investors pulled out. The bank's reduced our headroom. We can't get any orders, and we're short of staff. So how can I help you today?" How can I help you today? And then suddenly be looking around going, where did they go? Where did they go? Networking's always been about getting to know people. And we tend to get to know people by just sharing stories. We tend not to focus in on the super dark or the super problematic. Network has been about buoyantly getting to know people and understand if we can create economic connection with each other. I think he has a point. I think David has a point. Can you put his point back up?
Yeah.
People not reflecting their actual lives. And do you know what? There are elements of my life that I wouldn't discuss with you if I was networking with you.
Well, that sounds like a different interview.
That is a different interview. We'll do that on the dark web. We'll do that on the dark web. There are elements of my life that I don't really want to share with you. And to be quite honest, I don't want you to share with me. Networking has been about getting to know each other, understanding that we're lovely people, understanding that we add value to each other's lives. You're right. People are putting out the content they're expected to, jumping on trends. I mean, my goodness, how many plastic dolls have we seen over the last week?
Yeah.
I mean, it's like, but that's fine. That's jump on a trend. That's okay. There's absolutely nothing wrong. I would rather people jumped on trends than not be there in the digital space. And if jumping on a trend is what you want to do, that's fine. But make sure your core content has got influence, got value, gives us a bit of insight into you. You can then make plastic dolls. You can then tell us you're at a show, but that core content will separate you from everyone else who's just putting out stuff about being at a thing and jumping on trends. Thank you, David.
No, because I kind of tend to find a lot of the content that I've put out, the ones that are kind of get more traction, is almost like when you look at a good comedian like Billy Connolly, Kevin Bridges, etc. When you see the crowd members laughing but turning around and going, "That's you," or
yes.
So if people can relate to it, and they go, "Actually, I've been through that situation," or I've went through that problem, and then you'll get a comment, and then people will DM you offline, etc. as well, just to kind of go, "Let's have a catch up, let's speak about it."
Yes, totally.
It seems to be quite common. Because I think another one that a lot of people struggle with is how important is consistency versus quality in building a presence online, and which one should someone focus on first? What do you think, Eric? Would it be consistency or both?
So Ross, I differ from Amelia's approach on this, right? Back in the day, in the very early days of this, I would have focused on consistency and just get stuff out there. Nowadays, I advise people not to do that. The world's become so populated with just stuff. I think consistency and quality work hand in hand in the digital world. And if we're trying to rise above people, we're trying to rise above competition and stand out, we need quality built in. So we teach our clients consistency is key. Consistency is key. When I set out with a new client, we are talking about a year's worth of digital activity continued. Is that Andrew Slessor being rude again? Standing up the box. Yes, he is. He is. Thank you, Andrew. Always a pleasure. Good man. Love him to bits.
Just for anybody that hasn't met Eric, I mean, when I met him in person for the first time, I was probably about, I think I was looking at his belt buckle. I think it was because he's a tall guy. So I'm only 5'9", and how tall are you again, Eric?
I'm 6'6".
Well, there you go. So he's almost a foot taller than me. So that's what I think that's what Andrew's kind of obviously alluding to there.
It's funny when most people meet me in real life for the first time. The first thing they say is "oh" and then an expletive that begins with F. And they go like, "Oh my god!" Yeah. Why anybody I meet now for the first time that I know in the digital world, I get in first and go, "You're much taller than I thought you would be." Because I know it's going to come, right? But
Yeah.
for me, in this world, which is becoming populated and saturated, this digital world, because lots of people are firing out stuff, I think consistency and quality work hand in hand.
Mm-hmm.
So we train our clients in how to produce high quality content that stands out. Building a presence online is important. They work hand in hand. I used to hear, just put anything out. It's all about just being yourself. If having been standing in front of a room or online with a team of nervous people about digital media, telling people to just be themselves and put stuff out there is as useful as throwing a set of Ferrari car keys at someone who's never driven a car before and saying, just be yourself, you'll be fine. You'll be fine. It's not helpful. So understanding how to work in quality in your content, if the whole thing is rising up out of a sea of vanilla sameness, quality is important. Quality is important. Consistency and quality work hand in hand, and refine your quality over time. Don't focus too much on impressions and engagement in the first instance. If you've got 400 followers and you've never produced content before, in 2 weeks after producing content, don't turn around and say, I'm really not getting the impressions and engagement that I thought I would be getting. We're here for the long haul, right? This digital thing's not going away. Get consistent 3 times a week minimum in that little industry commentary company or solutions focus, a little bit about you, and focus on that. We're in here for the long haul. This is the ultra multi-day marathon, not a 100-meter sprint. Don't give up. Don't give up.
Don't give up. No, because like as Eric and I were discussing in the kind of green room, the Aberdeen Young Professionals Network started off as a LinkedIn group way back in 2009. And we obviously then moved into having like in-person events as well. As the group gained traction, people saw and took an interest in it and got a lot of value from it. So how can being part of a group like Aberdeen Young Professionals supercharge someone's visibility and credibility online?
Oh my goodness, hugely. They work hand in hand in concert. If you're just the digital person who's just producing lots of content and not moving it off the platform to somewhere in person, you're missing a trick. Right? They work hand in hand. We advise our clients, build relationships online and move them off the platform as soon as you can. Meet for a coffee, meet on a video call, get in a boardroom. Static channel relationships do nothing other than burn energy. We do all of this digital stuff to meet people in the flesh. So if you join groups, if you attend networking events regularly, I think it's as important these days as having a strong digital presence, a strong B2B influence platform. Yeah. Any people who've been invisible before now find that they go to these events and they walk in and someone walks up and says, hey, I'm following you on LinkedIn. I really like your content.
Yeah.
Come on. It's beautiful, right? It's absolutely beautiful. And if you've got a little hook, one of our clients, Andy Robson down in Newcastle, walked into a meeting. He used to do this engineering thing every Friday where he would set engineers a challenge. I think he called it from sketchbook to blueprint or something like that. He wanted to meet engineers, so he channeled right into engineers. He walked into a show in a town he'd never been to in his life, and someone came up to him on a stand and said, you are the engineering challenge guy, right? And he went, oh my God, I can't believe this. This was very early in his digital journey. Yeah. People starting to know. And don't be worried about impressions and engagements from the start. We look at this as an iceberg, right? The iceberg, the sea level is here and the tip of the iceberg is sitting out. It's the people that are going to engage with you that are the tip of the iceberg, but there's lots of people just watching and observing. And when the time is right, they're going to reach out.
Yeah. No, because we had the exact same moment, Eric, when I took my eldest daughter to our swimming lessons. I was one of the dads who turned around and goes, oh, you're Ross Joel. I follow your content on LinkedIn. And like when obviously Charlotte goes, my daughter said, oh, look, Daddy's famous on, and I was no, hardly.
You know what?
Infamous, maybe, I don't know.
Just there, being comfortable. You know, we ask our clients, what do they want to be famous for on digital channels? What do you want to be known for? And you see lots of them going, well, I'm an engineer, or I'm a managing director or an accountant or whatever. I don't really know if I want to be famous. Being comfortable with the fact that this digital thing that you're going to do is, okay, famous is maybe a strong term. It's going to make you more well-known.
Well-known, yeah.
You would not believe the amount of times, and I'm not joking here, I've been walking down the street and someone shouted, "Burritos!"
Yeah.
And I'm very proud of that. I've been at business meetings where we've got to the end and someone's come up and whispered in my ear, "Mon the biff." I know what that's from. They know what it's from. It's lovely. Being recognized for something is a great thing.
Yeah.
As long as it's a good thing.
You should be very proud of that, Eric. That was the big live breakfast burrito for those that hadn't ever watched it. It used to be on a Thursday morning, and I think I used to do a couple of whiskey tastings on it. I remember having a whiskey tasting at 7:30 in the morning. I wasn't working that day, so it was okay. Just in case any past employers were like watching it at that point, I wasn't working that day.
Definitely not.
It was different, I suppose, having a dram of whiskey at that time in the morning.
It really was.
But I think we both agree that networking obviously works both in person and digitally, but how do you think AYP members can bridge those two worlds effectively?
What the digital and
in person, yeah.
Digital and in person. Set out first to establish a digital foothold. Your network will start to grow because you'll be starting to look at how to put a method in place to grow your network every day. Try and move those offline as much as possible, and join up with relevant groups around your sector. If it's AYP, or if it's in tech, if it's in a particular, in this city, it would be a particular energy kind of networking thing. I love the fact that there's so many groups growing up now, women in business, women in energy. Those are groups that are just accepting people. You step forward and be forward. So everyone in that group is now a new connection. Everyone that's connected to them is now a potential new connection, and you start to leverage from the promotional kind of aspects of what that group are doing.
Yeah.
And it just all works together. But remember, ultimately, we're doing this. We're not here to just create digital art. Many companies that I meet will tell me they've been on LinkedIn or another platform because it was good for their business, and that they've been on it for 2 years and it's given us nothing. These platforms will give you nothing apart from a platform to be able to play out a scenario, a digital scenario, and repeat that. We must be there to achieve what it is we want to achieve. And in many cases, that's just more conversations, more relationships, and more commercial interaction.
Yeah, I mean, I must admit, I think that platforms like LinkedIn, especially if you're a shy type person, I think it's a good way to start building your reputation and your knowledge base, to then start, when you're communicating with people online, commenting on their posts. And then once you do reach out, they maybe aren't interested in having a chat with you, because it's like a different way of cold calling, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, very much so. But it's with permission, right? Because if someone opens up LinkedIn, so you're not interrupting someone by cold calling them and they're busy. If someone opens up LinkedIn, they're mentally set to go in and have a look.
Yeah.
Right? If they've got a little message from you, you expect to get messages on this platform. That's what it's for. If they've got a little message from you and they open it up, they've decided to do that. It's with permission. So we're not interrupting them. They've chosen to open the platform. They've chosen to see content. They've chosen to be messaged. And there's a lot of barriers broken down. But that's absolutely crucial. Move as much of this digital interaction to real world integration as quickly as possible.
Yeah. I think on that as well, I think you see that comments quite regularly on some of people's posts. This isn't Facebook, blah, 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 keep this professional element. But I still think it's quite good to see what's like an individual's interests are out with their day job.
Yep.
Because you can also relate to it, because you might go, well, I'm interested in that as well. And that's how you can start building a little bit of rapport online. And then you take it offline. You go and meet with some certain people as well. So for me, I still think, I do agree with, David's comments about like living your life out loud, but I think there's still that room where you can obviously let your LinkedIn network know what your interests are, because that can then open up a whole host of different people that you might not have met, shall we say.
100%. You will find that when you finally get to the point where you're able to put out that little personality based the me content, and it's not cringy in any way. You're just talking about, I read this amazing book the other day and it really changed my life. There's a paragraph in there that I really recommend to people who are looking at this and blah, blah, blah. It really affected me. Or I've joined this group and it's nothing to do with my work and it's really helpful, whatever it might be, just giving a little insight to your personality and the kind of interests and what you do out of work. You will find that will probably be your most engaged with piece of content that week. Why? Because if I put out a bit of industry commentary It has barriers to entry. Number one, the reader needs to be interested in that industry. The reader needs to be interested in reading content about that industry and your commentary. So it filters down. When you put out that piece of content about your team, the kind of solutions that you're putting out there to address those industry issues, there's going to be barriers to entry, but they're going to be laser focused on the kind of people that want to interact with you. When you put out a piece of commentary on how you're struggling to parent your kids and work from home, there's no barriers to entry for that, because lots and lots of people are experiencing the same problems. If you're putting out a piece of content about the fact that you're on a train again for the 5th time this month, and it's a nightmare trying to get Wi-Fi connection and blah, 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 lots of people can interact with that. Lots of people can see themselves in it.
Yeah. So like in your line of work, Eric, have you seen any kind of standout examples of young professionals in Aberdeen who've used digital platforms to really elevate themselves or their causes effectively? And what have they done that you think has made them stand out against the rest of the white noise on the platform, like LinkedIn?
That's a great question. Young professionals that stand out to me. Young professionals. One off the top of my head is Katie Forbes at Autistic Flair. I think what Katie is doing in that whole world, I mean, there's a young Aberdonian professional who's doing amazing work in the autism awareness and training space, helping autistic people in work, and also helping employers who employ autistic people to be able to create an environment that supports them and supports themselves. I mean, Katie's got, she'll kick me in the leg for this, but she's got over 200,000 followers on Instagram, and she's now moving into LinkedIn because she's now dealing with corporates, and she's playing out a whole series of content now about what it's like to be autistic in the workplace and how you can help to enrich that environment. I think what she's doing is great. Hats off to Katie. Katie, excuse me if I get the name wrong, Katie Watson from the Chamber. You know Katie? I did a thing last year at JCI, and she wrote me a lovely letter afterwards, a lovely note, a lovely email saying that's given me the confidence now to go ahead and do my thing. I think what that young professional is doing now, I mean, now from a standing start, producing regular content, it's given us a bit of insight, a bit of personality. She's on podcasts. She's just stepped forward. And one to watch, Katie Watson from the Chamber. There's a bunch. Jasmine Corbett on nutrition. Fantastic. I mean, my goodness me. Dr. Aileen Alexander on women's health. I even love, it's way away from the sort of B2B side, but I just love when people find a little niche. Do you know Alex White? Alex White is a marketing director at Mission 10.
Okay.
And I was absolutely thrilled. If she's watching this, she will die with cringing. But Alex has decided she's interested in fashion. Right. So she's decided to set out on a course of fashion advice and sort of fashion influence on TikTok. Her network's growing massively, and she's producing amazing videos that are obviously something about what she loves. So she's digging deep on it and putting out a couple of videos a week on TikTok. It's blowing up. I love that. Edward Pollock on tech startups. A young Aberdeen professional is obsessed with tech startups. The advice he gives out, I love all of that. And that's just to name what 1, 2, 3, 4, 5-ish that catch my eye, because I think they're just, it's obvious when you think of Jasmine Corbett, you think nutrition. When you think of Aileen Alexander, women's health. When you think of Katie, autism support and help. Katie Watson has grown her thing about community and networks and all of that at the Chamber. Ed on tech startups. We know what their core content and their core value is, and I love that.
So what would be your kind of, excuse me, call to action for any likes of AYP member who's feeling stuck or invisible online? We've obviously mentioned some really good names there as well. What are they doing differently that you think that could help a member who is trying to put out a lot of content, trying to make a name for themselves, but they're feeling stuck, they don't know where to go next?
Well, first off, my offer to anyone at AYP is if you're struggling, get in touch with me and I'll help you. I'll help you. I'd rather see people get into this than just sit on the sidelines for year after year after year going, I'm definitely going to start in April. No, I mean May. Definitely after the summertime, I'm definitely going to start. I'll start in January. And it never starts.
Yeah.
So I'd rather see people get a foothold and get on. Secondly, rise above all the noise. Make a plan. Make a plan for what you want to be recognized for in the world. Use that little content plan earlier in this recording. Industry commentary to get started. Some beautiful, insightful insight into your company, your project, your startup, your team, whatever it might be. and then that little look into what you are 3 times a week. Do that for 6 months. Do that for 6 months. Mm-hmm. Remember, we are all doing this for some kind of result, but the result won't just fall at your feet. Mm-hmm. Connect with people, have conversation, test, review, reset, start again. Don't be frightened of completely changing direction.
So if you're an AYP member watching this, and you've not really started your journey yet in building your digital influence, what would be your advice to them? Just get going.
Just start. No, definitely not. Definitely not. That whole chuck the keys of Ferrari at someone who's never driven a car. So just get going. I think doesn't really help people. Mm-hmm. Take a breath. Have a look at your sector that you're in. Sit down and make a plan. Mm-hmm. We realize this is important. All of the data is there, and the world is moving to digital channels. We realize the importance. So have an important response to this that's equal to and even greater than the growing importance, right? Get everything in place roughly. Doesn't need to take months, can take a week. You can sit down and say, this week I'm going to make my plan. Start out with that little, get your profile looking fantastic, and then start to drip feed content out there in that little model. I try to avoid getting stuck in the promotion loop, because that just becomes, there's someone on a plane again. There's someone traveling the world again. Where's the value? Yeah. Focus on value, get it going, and stick the course. If it's getting quite sticky and it's not really working for you after a few months, figure out where that might be going wrong and change direction a little bit. Introduce a new thing. Introduce a live show. Introduce a video, whatever it might be, and tweak this as you're going along. Getting it going early in your career as a young professional is only going to pay dividends for you as the world gets more and more deeper, as AI starts to get more prevalent, blockchain, Web3 start to get more prevalent, all of these things start to come. You'll have a solid digital footing.
Yeah. So we're just needing, obviously, the end of the live show, Eric. I mean, what's the best way to follow your content online, and how can people get in touch with you?
So I'm Eric Doyle. I think it's FISP at the end, Fellow of the Institute of Sales Professionals at the end. I'm willing to connect with everyone and anyone to have a conversation about this. LinkedIn's probably the best place to find me. But you can, Crux is our website, www.consultcrux.com. Eric at Consult Crux is my email. You can email me. You can find me on TikTok, Instagram. You can find me on different places. Crux is the company name, but LinkedIn is where we meet professionals, where we help professionals, and that's probably the best way to get in touch with me.
Brilliant. And I would thoroughly recommend, any of the members to do that, because the content that Eric's put out has got some real great nuggets of information.
Oh, wow. Thank you.
That as well. And one question I will be asking all the guests at the end, based on your own expertise and the topic that we're discussing, is what's one message that you'd like to leave our listeners with?
Oh, crikey. Oh, crikey. You have a voice. You absolutely have a voice. Your network, whether you understand it right now or not, your network want to hear it. Your network do want to hear it. The platforms want to hear it. Get yourself ready and start and stick with it. Confidence comes from doing, and it comes from doing it over and over, listening, learning, and resetting. And then I would advise you, once you've established a little foothold and you've realized the world hasn't spun off its axis, because you put out content now, find a niche, find a new thing that no one else is doing in your sector, in your digital sector, and double down on it. Brilliant. Stick with it.
Brilliant. Well, Eric, I think I can quite confidently say this has been packed with insight, I think, for our members, from your own TEDx stage to LinkedIn timelines. I think we've shown us that digital influence isn't just about ego; it's just about getting that impact as well. Yeah. And for our young professionals tuning in, I think the message that I've certainly got from it is very clear, that your online presence, it's your CV, it's your elevator pitch, it's your personal brand, all rolled into one. So
it's everything. And lots of people don't realize that actually it's waiting for them, and they're expected there to do that. So you have as much as, if there's someone with 150,000 followers on LinkedIn and 1 million followers on Instagram, they started with nothing.
Yeah.
They started with nothing, just like all of us, and they built it up.
I think that's a lot of people forget as well, isn't it?
Yeah, they started. Mr. Beast had 0 followers on YouTube at one point in his life. Mr.
I
Beast,
know.
0 followers. You know, Jake Paul had 0 followers. You know, these people started with an idea. They opened up a platform and went, I think I'm going to do this. I think I'm going to start to put out content.
Brilliant.
Ross Jolly had 0 followers at one point in his life.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's what we're talking about here.
I've now got 3 or 4. No, thank you very much, Eric, for taking your time out today. You know, much obliged, and it's always a pleasure to speak to you and you know, get your insights into digital influence is brilliant. Thank you very much, Eric. Thank you.
Really appreciate the opportunity, and thanks to everyone who jumped in. Thank you so much.
Brilliant. Thanks, Eric. Thank you. Well, what can we say? Thanks for joining us today, and again to Eric Doyle from Consult Crux. Just want to put this on here. Thank you. So keep an eye out for the next AYP Live via our socials, and if you want to get involved or indeed nominate someone with an inspiring story, please get in touch. Drop us an email at info@aypgroup.co.uk. I'm also happy if you want to come in and join me as a guest interviewer as well. Give me a shout. Take care, and I'll see you at the next live event. And thanks for contributing and watching us live. Take care.
Thanks for tuning in to Aberdeen Young Professionals. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more events. Want to join us in person? Visit www.aypgroup.co.uk to find out what's next. See you there.